When 16 scientists gave up, one poor secretary discovered an incredible solution in just 3 minutes. Mary Thompson stared at the blank wall of her cramped office, the hum of the fluorescent lights buzzing above adding to the weight pressing down on her chest. Maplewood, once a beacon of warmth and community, faced its darkest hour. Families that had flourished together were now dissolving under the weight of an unseen foe, contaminated water that seeped into their lives like a thief in the night. As whispers of despair grew louder, Mary felt the shadows inch closer. Her father, a proud World War II veteran, sat in his tattered armchair, the flicker of aging reflected in his eyes. He needed her, and she needed Maplewood. When the 16 renowned scientists abandoned their posts, Mary felt the ground shift beneath her. Hope was slipping through fingers like sand. Bills mounted on the kitchen table. The sickly sweet smell of old memories mingled with her father's favorite cologne. Mary had 2 jobs. She balanced typing in the office with working at the diner, but nights at the table yielded nothing but an aching uncertainty. One evening, while searching for a lost family photo in the attic, her fingers brushed against a dusty box. Inside lay her father's old military journal, a treasured trove of sketches and notes. Her breath caught as she flipped through pages worn with time, revealing an ancient water purification method he'd learned from indigenous peoples. Could this be the miracle her town needed? Could it be woven back into the fabric of their lives? "Dad," she whispered, clutching the journal to her chest. Tears stung her eyes as she realized the weight of her father's legacy. She raced through a storm of thoughts. Was she chasing a wild dream? But no. What if her father's wisdom was the missing link? Fueled by love and determination, Mary dove into research, exploring the depths of her newfound revelation. The townspeople, however, didn't share her enthusiasm. They eyed her with skepticism and disbelief, mumbling doubts like vines strangling hope. Even her own family, fearful of her investment in an uncertain road, begged her to reconsider. But Mary pressed forward, heart pounding, fueled by a community that had lost its spirit. As her grassroots movement began to spark interest, she felt the fire. A handful of farmers, retirees, and mothers rallied around her vision. They needed something, anything to cling to in the face of their crumbling reality. Yet the night of the town hall meeting, the scientists met her with ridicule. "You!" they jeered, pointing fingers. "You think you can save us?" Their derision stung like a sharp slap, but instead of retreating, it ignited a fierce resolve inside her. Fire danced in her eyes as she stood before the crowd. "I may not have formal training," she declared, voice ringing through the murmurs. "But I hold the wisdom of a soldier who fought for this very community." Silence engulfed the room as tension hung like an electric charge. Would they dismiss her revolutionary dream or awaken to the possibility within? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mary held her breath, a kaleidoscope of hope and fear swirling in her chest. The air crackled with both anguish and anticipation, as she dared to imagine a world where Maplewood could rise again. Would they rally around her vision? Or allow the chains of doubt to hold them down, ensuring despair's victory? In that decisive moment, the town's heartbeat steadied, lingering on the edge of transformation. Mary's heart raced as silence enveloped the town hall. Hope sparkled faintly in the eyes of the townsfolk, but doubt loomed like a dark cloud. She had presented her case. The ancient methods, the potential for revival, now it rested in the hands of the people. "Mary," a voice broke through the silence. It was Jim, a local farmer, his calloused hands gripping the edge of the podium. "What you're talking about, it sounds incredible. But can it really work? Can we trust this?" A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Uncertainty took root in the hearts of familiar faces, flashing back to years of difficulty and disappointment. Mary took a step closer, inhaling deeply. Jim, I believe in this. Not just because it's my father's legacy, but because it connects us to something deeper. We can stand together as a community, fight together as a family. Don't we owe it to ourselves? Our children? As she spoke, she found herself picturing the faces of children playing at the park, families gathering at the diner, laughter echoing like music through Maplewood's streets. Images flashed through her mind, each moment a reason to fight. A woman named Sarah, a single mother and waitress at the diner, stood up. But what if it fails? What if we pour all our hopes into this and lose everything again? Mary felt a pang in her chest. She understood the weight of that fear. It was the same burden she carried. I get it, Sarah. But we've been losing for too long. If we don't take that leap, we might lose everything anyway. At least this way, we're fighting together. The crowd softened, and she could see people nodding, eyes glistening with latent hope. The tension started to melt. Fear is a powerful opponent, but nothing compared to the instinct to protect one's family. Okay, all right, Jim said, stepping forward. Let us say we support this. What's the plan, Mary? Relief poured through her, igniting a new wave of excitement. First, we'll gather the materials. We can create a small prototype system using what I found in the journal. We'll work together, every step of the way. After that, we can test it out, and if it works, then we spread it, a voice called out from the back, filled with eagerness. Hope swelled, blooming with the realization that they were in this together. Mary smiled, her heart soaring. Suddenly, the hall was alive with chatter. People were discussing logistics, gathering resources, and brainstorming a timeline. A movement was building, one founded in love, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. It felt beautiful, electric. But then, just as the excitement surged, the doors burst open. The scientists who democked her stood silhouetted against the backdrop of stereofluorescent lights. Their expressions were filled with indignation, and Mary braced herself. What is this? The lead scientist shouted. A community project? You think fixing the water crisis can be done with some old methods? You'll just make things worse. Anger bubbled up in her chest. And what do you suggest? Just giving up like you did? We deserve better. The crowd turned to Mary, their support brewing like a storm. They left us, someone else yelled back, a defiant edge in their voice. We have to try. The confrontation hung in the air, filled with an electric tension. Was this the moment Mary would stand against the experts for the first time? Mary met the steely gaze of the scientists, fury and determination igniting within her. She was tired of being belittled, tired of waiting for help that never came. The volunteers were ready, the community was clear, but could she find the strength to stand tall against the very people who once held Maplewood in their hands? Now, she declared, voice steady. We'll show you who Maplewood is capable of being. A spark had ignited, but from that flame, what would rise? The night felt heavy with possibilities, each pulse a countdown to what lay ahead. Would her vision flame into reality, or would this battle end before it even began? The tension crackled in the air like a live wire. The townsfolk, emboldened by Mary's words, straightened their backs and faced the scientists without fear. Jim stepped forward to stand by her side, fists clenched at his sides, ready for whatever came next. What's the plan then, Mary? He echoed, this time with a fierce determination. Mary's heart fluttered. She imagined their old ways, the traditions brushed aside, brought back into the light. We dig into our roots. We study the land again. We'll test the ancient filtration methods. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick. But I promise you, it will be worth it. Sarah raised her hand nervously from the crowd. And resources? She asked. We're not exactly swimming in spare change. Mary acknowledged her, feeling a surge of gratitude for the support. We pool what we have. Donations, fundraisers, work together to gather the materials. Maybe we can enlist help from the surrounding towns. This isn't just about Maplewood, it's about a community revival. The crowd let out a low murmur of agreement, sharing glances, igniting conversations. Enough! The lead scientist's voice cut through the chatter like glass shattering. You think you can offset years of science with community spirit and old wives' tales? You're risking lives. A chill gripped Mary. The stakes had never been so high. Yet it also fueled her fire. You risked our lives when you turned your backs on us. We're the ones living with the consequences of your so-called science, which has done nothing to fix our water. It's time for us to take matters into our own hands. The silence that followed was deafening. Mary's eyes darted through the crowd. She saw the flickers of belief igniting in their expressions, some swelling with pride, others with fear, but all echoing the same sentiment: enough was enough. You think you're above us because of your degrees? Jim shouted, his voice rising over the thrum of uncertainty. We've been ignored for too long. We've fought our own battles out here. We know this land better than you ever will. With that, a wave of applause erupted from the crowd, hands clapping, cheers breaking free, washing over the room like a flood. It was a tidal wave of community spirit, a rallying cry that filled the hall until it echoed off the walls. But the scientists failed to be moved, their faces grim. You may think you're standing together, but knowledge is key. You'll need resources and organization, things a community of farmers and waitresses doesn't possess. The words hung heavy, like an anvil threatening to crush their newfound resolve. But Mary, tapping into the shared longing and hope glimmering in the room, took a deep breath. Then let us start where we are. This isn't just about resources, it's about direction. We have everything we need right here, she declared. Perhaps we'll also reach out to the experts who are willing to help. Let us focus on collaboration instead of conflict. Who knows? Even you, she pointed to the scientists, could join our journey if you ever decide to care about the people you once abandoned. The tension shifted yet again. The scientists remained stiff, but uncertainty creased their brows. There was a flicker of doubt in their eyes, though they clung to their pride, unwilling to show any signs of wavering. And then, in the back of the room, a young voice piped up. I want to help. We can have meetings to plan. This isn't just a dream anymore. It was a teenager, a spark of hope that was infectious. Fueled by determination, Mary realized that together they could build something incredible against that backdrop of doubt. With a firm decision, she called out, "Let us set a date for our first community meeting. This is not just a project, it's the beginning of something bigger. We can redefine ourselves as a community." As the crowd erupted in support, the scientists exchanged furtive glances, confusion creeping into their well-calibrated certainty. What would happen next? Would the community band together to truly make a difference, or would they face an insurmountable obstacle? The stakes were rising, and as Mary locked eyes with the townsfolk, she knew they had only just begun this journey. The real fight was yet to come. The night was thick with anticipation as Mary's declaration hung in the air. The townsfolk buzzed with energy, and Mary felt that fire rekindled in each of them. She could see Jim still pumped with adrenaline, his eyes gleaming with purpose. It was invigorating, and together they shared a moment that felt almost electric. This was their moment, and she was ready to see it through. As the meeting concluded, people began to disperse, but Mary felt a tug in her heart. It was bittersweet. There was so much to do, yet she sensed the weight of disbelief from the scientists still lingering at the back. What if they don't believe we can do this? She whispered to Jim as they walked out. Believe it, he replied, clapping a hand on her shoulder. You've already inspired them. Let us light that fire even brighter. As they left the hall, the chill of the night wrapped around them, but it was nothing compared to the warmth that broiled in Mary's chest. The clearing of the mind and the vision of communities working together began to feel like tangible reality. Still, she couldn't shake the thought of the scientists. They were once trusted, their data now the ghost of a promise unfulfilled, haunting Maplewood. Days turned into weeks. They set a date for the first community meeting, and words spread like wildfire. Generations of people from Maplewood, formerly bound by doubt, began arriving at the old church, a rustic building decorated with faded memories and laughter. The scent of warm coffee and freshly baked pastries hung in the air, adding to the glow of hope. Mary stepped up to the pulpit, her heart racing. She looked out over the crowd, faces she had known since childhood, now filled with a fervor she had only dreamed of igniting. "This is just the beginning," she exclaimed, her voice firm and steady. "Let us start with what we know, the land and its stories. We'll work together to reclaim our water." The room erupted with applause, laughter, and cheers. Each clapping hand was a pact, a promise to one another. "We'll form teams," she said, "to research, to craft ancient models out of clay or wood. We'll reach out to other towns to pool knowledge and resources." More hands shot up, people eager to volunteer, to contribute their skills. Some knew how to cook, others had experience in fundraising, and a few were skilled craftsmen. An energy began to hum in the room, one that felt different. It vibrated deeper than fear, it resonated with possibility. Then, a newcomer stood up, a newcomer dressed in a faded denim jacket, a young woman named Clara. "I've been studying water systems in college." Her excitement was palpable. "I believe there are ways to filter water using local plants." Gasps resounded throughout the room. It was inspiration personified, an actual bridge to knowledge. Mary felt her spirits soar. "Yes. We'll dive into that. This is how we grow, together." The crowd rallied once more, their excitement cascading. Clara shared more of what she had learned about local plants and their medicinal properties. As she spoke, the crowd leaned in closer. Hope expanded, growing limitless like the stars outside. Just as Mary began to imagine a future filled with clean water, the door swung open. The lead scientist stepped in, his expression unreadable. "I'm here to talk," he said, the weight of his words cloaked in uncertainty. A hush fell over the crowd. The air shifted dramatically. Did he come to dismiss them again, or was this a chance for something else? Mary's heart raced as she stood at the forefront. The moment of truth had arrived. What would he say? What did he really want? The scientist stepped further into the dim light of the church, his name, Dr. Stevens, still echoing in Mary's head like a whispered caution. His rapport with the town had always been professional, and here he stood now, a harbinger of a different kind of reality. Faces turned to him, curiosity and skepticism mingling in the air. Mary felt the tension rise as she braced herself for whatever might come next. "I'm here because I want to talk about the water crisis," he started, his voice steady but low. "I've been following your initiative, and I must admit, it's captured my attention." Mary exhaled, feeling the tightness in her chest loosen slightly. Was this a glimmer of hope? "I can't deny the urgency of your mission," Dr. Stevens continued, adjusting his glasses. "But I have to warn you, solutions in the past have been complex. It's not as simple as gathering a few models or researching plants. More data is needed. We need numbers." Mary's heart sank for a moment. It felt like he was placing a wall between them and their dreams of clean, hopeful water. But before she could respond, he pulled a folded paper from his pocket. It looked worn, like it had traveled through too many hands. The crowd leaned in closer, the tension shifting to curiosity. "This is preliminary data we gathered before we halted our research 5 months ago," he said, slowly opening the paper. "I'm sharing it because I believe you all deserve to know the reality." The murmurs began, questions flared in the air. Mary felt her determination harden. "But what if we can turn that data into something actionable?" she challenged, stepping closer. "What if you worked with us? We can gather the community's knowledge and fuse it with your science." Dr. Stevens looked taken aback for a moment, then nodded slowly. "That's the spirit. Collaboration is key, but it will take time. And we'll need resources. Clara's voice rang out, her enthusiasm infectious. "We already have people who are ready to fund garden initiatives, village cleanups, and research groups. If we can reclaim just one section of the river, it might prove what we can do." Yes! Someone from the back shouted, "We can plant trees like we used to, build barriers." Another voice chimed in, and soon the crowd was alight with ideas. Mary's heart swelled as she watched people engage with one another, their imaginations ignited. She turned to Dr. Stevens, hoping to see that same spark reflected in his eyes. "Are you willing to help us?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with conviction. "Can you be a part of this?" He hesitated, glancing back at the townspeople whose faces were now bright with the flames of determination. It was as if he was standing at a crossroads of belief. "I'll consider," Dr. Stevens started before the crowd erupted with a mix of applause and encouragement. Hope echoed around the room, creating an almost magnetic energy. "Together, we'll find a way," Mary declared, her voice resonating now, a steady heartbeat amidst the fervor. But as the meeting adjourned, a sliver of doubt crept back in. What if the data was unreliable? Would the townsfolk's enthusiasm be enough to overcome the scientific barriers? Would Dr. Stevens truly commit? As Mary stepped outside into the cool night air, she gazed up at the stars, her heart racing not with fear, but with the thrill of the unknown. Everything was starting to unfold, yet she felt a deep unease lingering. One thought trapped her mind: was this just the beginning of their struggle, or a step towards something monumental? In the distance, she heard a faint shuffle of footsteps approaching. Who could it be? A new ally or a shadow of hesitation? Mary turned toward the sound, her heart sinking with trepidation. The moonlight illuminated a figure stepping out of the shadows. It was Clara, her trusted friend and tireless advocate for the water initiative. Clara's eyes sparkled, reflecting a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Mary, you won't believe what just happened." Clara's voice trembled with urgency as she drew closer. I spoke with Dr. Stevens after the meeting." Mary's heart raced. "What did he say? Did he agree to help us?" Clara took a deep breath, her hands clasping together as if holding on to hope. "He's on board. Sort of. But he wants to do a community forum, gather even more data and engage with as many townspeople as possible." "An effort to pull everyone into the fold," Mary murmured, her mind racing. "But what if he's just leading us into more bureaucracy? We need action now." Clara shrugged, her brow creased with concern. "I understand. But it could be a chance to rally them even more. We could show him that we don't need to wait, we can adapt and respond." As they spoke, they were joined by a few others from the meeting, old headlines of support filtering in, faces lighting up in the soft glow of the streetlights. Ideas crashed like waves against the shore. Could they mobilize their communities swiftly enough to spark significant change? "We need to demonstrate that we can be proactive," one of the newcomers suggested. "Let us start small, a clean-up effort this weekend. We need tangible proof of our commitment to these goals. Remember the old riverbank gardening project?" Clara added, her enthusiasm returning as she envisioned the task ahead. "We could restore it, and with Dr. Stevens' data, we can show the environment's potential to recover." Mary felt the warmth of the conversation enveloping her, brightening her dismal thoughts about their struggle. "Let us organize a meeting tomorrow to gather everyone's ideas. If we can ignite a project that brings the community together, it might convince Dr. Stevens we're serious." They exchanged glances, nodding in agreement, energizing each other with a newfound determination. Mary began to feel the weight of doubt lift slightly. Perhaps this was more than just an uphill battle, it could be a revival. But one of them hesitated, his voice dropping down to a whisper. "What if Dr. Stevens pulls out after all this commitment? What if he finds a reason to abandon us?" The question hung in the air, thick and heavy. Mary's heart sank, but she was determined not to let fear take the reins. "We can't let doubt extinguish our fire. Each of us represents a voice that deserves to be heard. Together, we'll create a coalition of strength." As they made plans, Mary took a moment to watch the laughter and teamwork grow among the townsfolk. Her heart warmed with an echo of hope. The possibility of their dreams flourishing mirrored the twinkling stars above. Just as they finalized meeting details, Clara turned to Mary, her eyes reflecting a mix of mischief and seriousness. "And what if I discovered something unexpected that could help us deal with the data and its implications faster than we thought?" "What do you mean?" Mary asked, intrigued yet cautious. "I met a woman today at the edge of the river. She seemed to know the land, the water, everything. We could get expert insight from her if she's willing to share." Mary's heart leapt at the idea. "You think she has something that could change everything?" Clara nodded fervently. "It's a shot in the dark, but before Clara could finish, The sound of distant thunder rolled through the air, dark clouds creeping in, foreshadowing an impending storm. Mary felt a rush of urgency. Would darkness fall upon their dreams before they even had a chance to take flight? "Let us find her, Clara," Mary said, her voice resolute. "Let us see if she truly holds the key to our future." As they set off toward the river's edge, both exhilarated and anxious, the air thickened with possibilities. Would this stranger indeed have the wisdom they desperately needed? Or would it lead them to more complications in their fight for survival? The thunder rumbled again, a low growl echoing across the landscape as Mary and Clara approached the edge of the river. The air felt electric with anticipation, tension crackling between them. The rushing water mirrored their emotions, full of force yet unsure which direction it would take next. "Are you sure about this?" Clara asked softly, her gaze meeting Mary's. "What if she doesn't want to talk to us?" Mary couldn't shake the feeling that they needed to press on. "We have to try. We've come this far. It doesn't hurt to ask." They continued along the river bank, where wildflowers danced in the wind, almost beckoning them forward. The sunlight dimmed, clouds looming overhead, thickening the atmosphere. Just as hope began to waver, they spotted a figure sitting under a gnarled willow, its long branches swaying like arms reaching out, as if holding secrets of the river. The woman was older, perhaps in her 60s, her face weathered yet serene. She wore a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed her eyes, but a wise smile played on her lips. She looked up as they approached, studying them carefully. "Who are you two?" she asked, her voice steady and curious. Mary stepped forward, her heart pounding. "I'm Mary, and this is Clara. We're working on a project to revitalize the river and address the water crisis in our community. We've heard you might have valuable knowledge." The woman raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Knowledge? Or wisdom? They are not the same." Mary swallowed hard. "Both, if you will share. We want to make a real change." The woman chuckled softly, glancing at the river. "Change comes like the tides, young ones. Emotions run deep here. The water has much to tell, but you must listen closely." Mary exchanged a hopeful glance with Clara. "Please, what do you know about the river? We think it deserves love and care." "Listen," the woman gestured toward the flowing water as if conducting a symphony. "The river knows sorrow and joy. It has witnessed lifetimes. Restoration requires more than cleaning. It needs the voices of its people, their stories. You'll need a plan that honors that connection." Mary felt a flicker of understanding. "You mean we should involve the community, share their stories? Ground our work in their experiences?" "Exactly," the woman nodded, her smile deepening. "You will find that when you connect people back to this river, its healing begins just then." The sky opened up, rain pouring down, each drop striking the ground like a passionate declaration, washing away doubt. The woman stood, raising her arms to the downpour. "Embrace it. This rain is your ally. Gather your community. Plant their memories along this bank. Teach them to speak to the river, and it will listen." Mary felt the warmth of urgency bloom within her. They had found a path, a call to action not just about cleaning debris but restoring relationship. "We need to share this wisdom with everyone." They all feel inspired, connected as they spoke. Clara's eyes widened. "What if we organized a storytelling event right here? Under the willow. Invite everyone to come share their memories of the river." "Yes!" Mary exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. That could ignite something powerful. The woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, "But remember, there will be challenges. Not everyone will support you, and some will doubt. Stay true to your cause." "I will," Mary vowed, determination coursing through her. "We will." With the rain soaking through their clothes, the trio began to brainstorm a plan amidst nature's rhythm, each idea like a seed taking root. As they huddled under the willow, Mary couldn't shake the sense that this was just the beginning. The woman's presence felt like a beacon. What if they could harness this energy to build something transformative? But as the rain tapered off, an unsettling thought crossed Mary's mind. Would they have enough time before the community forum? Would they be able to convince others of the importance of this mission before the storm of indifference swept through? The answer lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. As Mary looked at Clara, they both understood this journey would demand everything from them. "Let us make that event happen," Mary said, heart steady with resolve. "But we have to start now. Tomorrow can't wait." As they moved away from the river, back toward the light of their community, the clouds cleared momentarily, revealing a brilliant, bright moon. It felt like a sign. Clara glanced sideways at Mary. What if that woman wasn't here by chance? "I think she might be leading us to something bigger," Mary replied, hope igniting once more. But just as they reached the path leading to town, another sound pierced through the evening air, a sharp crack of thunder that sent shivers down their spines. "Do you hear that?" Clara whispered, looking back toward the river. Mary's heart sank again. The future was still uncertain, and they had to brace for one more storm. What would their community's reaction be when they dared to claim the river's voice? With their resolve solidified but doubt in the air like the heavy clouds, they proceeded into the night, knowing their greatest battle was yet to unfold. The following day, a new energy pulsed through Mary as she and Clara sat at a table in the community center. The walls around them buzzed with chatter. People poured in, bringing their stories, their recollections of the river shimmering like restless fish beneath the surface. Mary had put up flyers and sent messages across town. Somehow, they had drawn in a crowd. "Open heart, open mind," Clara muttered softly, nervousness threading through her normally confident voice. Mary held Clara's hand for a quick moment. "We can do this. We've got their stories inside us, just waiting to be shared." The woman from the river had ignited something within both of them, a flame that flickered as they paced back and forth in their thoughts. Moments later, they found themselves standing at the front, a simple banner above them reading, "Share the river's heart." It struck Mary how many people had recognized the importance of the river, how much their lives were tied to its banks. Old photographs passed around, watercolors of family picnics, kids skipping stones, and elders standing on the banks, their faces etched with memories. Just as Mary was about to step forward, someone raised a hand. "I haven't seen that river clean in years," a man shouted, skepticism lacing his words. "What is your plan?" "A pretty meeting, won't change anything." Before Mary could respond, a woman stood up. "But we have to start somewhere. Look how many of us care enough to be here now." Clara's eyes sparkled with encouragement. "It's more than just a meeting. It's about reviving connection. Together, we can clean it up, tell our stories, plant flowers." Whoa, the man interrupted again, brow furrowed. "That's all nice. But how will that help the water? We need science." Heavy silence hung in the room. Mary felt the heat of anxiety creep into her cheeks. "But science isn't everything," she said, her voice trembling. "We need to feel what the river feels. It's our heart beating through this town." The words hung in the air. Mary looked into the crowd, faces shifting, some nodding slowly while others remained tense. Clara squeezed her hand to ground her. This was what they wanted, a discussion that mattered, a conversation about not just what was wrong but what could be made right. An elderly man stood up next, his voice cracking slightly. "My father took me fishing in that river. I've seen it change, run dry, polluted. But when we look back, we felt alive. I think we can do it again." A whisper spread through the crowd, a flicker of hope ignited in those words. Yes, this wasn't only about the science. It was a movement of the heart, a longing to restore a relationship that had been lost through neglect. As they continued fostering dialogue, Clara and Mary felt a shift. That man who had doubted raised a hand once more, slowly softening. "Okay, I get it. We can tell our stories. But will that bring the water back?" A nervous energy surged through Mary, and yet, she suddenly found comfort in the vulnerability shared in the room. Stories change hearts, and when hearts are changed, actions follow. We'll be sharing more than just memories, we'll share a purpose. As voices began to echo their thoughts, something deep shifted within Mary. This was theirs. They were planting seeds of joy, love, connection right there, amidst the uncertainty. And just like that, the energy transformed into a collaborative spirit. People began suggesting ideas for the river revitalization. Some wanted to organize cleanup crews while others spoke of bringing local schools into fold. But amidst the growing excitement, the echoing sound of thunder grumbled in the distance. Clara glanced outside, furrowing her brow. "Storm coming, are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Mary nodded, anxiety sparking to life. "Yes. We need a steady plan before it hits, but if this crowd can feel the river's pulse today, what will happen when it's on them tomorrow?" The questions loomed before them, heavy with possibilities. Would they be able to bring everyone into the movement as the storm edged nearer? Would the rain wash away their enthusiasm or ignite the fire within them? Like a candle flickering against the wind, Mary knew they had a difficult road ahead. Each moment of inspiration was steeped in challenges. Would they hold fast? The future awaited, shrouded in both promise and uncertainty, as the thunder grew louder. What would be the tipping point that would either bring them together or drive them apart? The thunder rolled again, louder and sharper this time, shaking the windows and sending a few nervous murmurs through the crowd. Mary caught Clara's eye, both of them feeling the weight of what was unfolding before them. The room was alive, charged with a tension that was both thrilling and frightening. "All right, let us take a moment," Mary said, raising her voice above the brewing commotion. "We need to focus. Ideas are spinning, but let us put them into action." At her words, the room settled, the faces still shifting but now wide-eyed and expectant. Clara nodded, her previous uncertainty giving way to determination. "Let's divide into smaller groups. Each group can brainstorm one thing they can do this week to help the river." A wave of enthusiasm washed over them. People immediately began splitting up. Mary felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. "Okay, let us consider our resources," she said, leading one group. "Who has connections? What tools do we have access to?" As hands shot up and ideas bounced around, the energy transformed into palpable action. Someone suggested calling local businesses for donations. Another chimed in about involving schools in educational workshops. Each voice built upon the last like stones being added to a bridge across the river of despair. In the next group, Clara tackled safety and logistics. "We can't forget the hazards," she asserted. "Let us make sure we have proper gear. And we might need some volunteers who have worked on cleanup efforts before." Excited chatter filled the room, but amidst the fervor, the storm loomed, thunder cracking like a whip. Mary felt the weight of the clouds pressing against her thoughts. "We are stronger together. But we need to set dates and responsibilities," she reminded everyone. Someone proposed a kickoff event for next weekend, a massive cleanup, perhaps with food and music to draw more people in. "We can turn this storm into a celebration." But before they could finalize plans, Clara's phone buzzed loudly against the table. Her expression shifted as she read the message, brows furrowing. "It's the National Weather Service. The storm could be stronger than expected. They're predicting flash floods." Mary's stomach dropped. "What does that mean for us?" "It means we should get people to act now. We might not have time to wait until next weekend," Clara replied, her voice strained. Panic flickered through the room like a flickering flame. Faces turned anxious, the earlier excitement suddenly clouded by a grim reality. Mary took a deep breath. "We can do this. Our first action could be to clear debris from the riverbanks. That can minimize the flooding risk and help prevent pollution." "Yes." Clara jumped in, spirit reigniting as she caught the contagion of Mary's enthusiasm again. "Let us set a date for this weekend then, and make it a big community effort. I'll coordinate with local authorities for safety measures." The crowd responded, voices lifting in agreement. Murmurs of hope began to circulate again. This was more than just a meeting, it was a grassroots movement. They were all part of something larger, a powerful force for good. But just as Mary felt that surge of possibility, the storm hit. Rain began to pound against the roof of the community center, drowning out all conversation and echoing through the room. The sound felt invasive, as if the storm were interrupting their plans. Clara leaned closer to Mary, worry etched across her face. "What if it gets worse? What if we use the storm We can rally everyone the moment it passes. Show them that the river needs us when it's vulnerable, Mary suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. We could frame the story. We'll be the ones who jump in when the waters rise. With that, determination flickered back to life again. They had faced the fear and channeled it into action. As rain pounded and thunder growled like a warning, they found their resolve. This storm wouldn't wash away their connection, it would bind it tighter. But as Mary looked outside, heart racing, she wondered if they were truly ready for the fight ahead. With the river and the storm demanding more than their words, could they really ignite a change before it was too late? The challenge lay ahead, cloaked in both fear and possibility. What next steps would they take as the river tested their courage? The rain poured harder, sheets of water drenching the streets and turning the world outside into a blur of gray. Inside the community center, Mary felt the tension shift as the storm outside raged on. Each ferocious clap of thunder echoed their fears but also amplified their resolve. Together they had forged a coalition, spirits ignited by a common purpose. But would it be enough? "Let us gather supplies for the cleanup right now," Mary shouted over the roar of the storm, rallying the crowd. "We can create a staging area, where everyone can bring tools, food, and anything we might need." Clara nodded, determination lighting her eyes. "Let us delegate. I'll take a group to contact local businesses for supplies. We need gloves, garbage bags, and fast." Hands shot up across the room, and people started sharing contacts and ideas faster than the rainfall could dampen their spirits. They were a community, pulsing with energy and passion, ready to challenge the hurdles before them. As the storm continued to batter against the building, Mary felt a wave of gratitude swell in her chest. Each person present represented a story, a heartbeat uniquely tied to Maplewood's river. She knew that the sense of urgency could sustain them. Storms often sowed seeds of transformation. "Remember," she called out, her voice steady, "everyone has a piece of this puzzle. We need to show each other what we can do together. Let us unite in our stories and our efforts. If the river has faced storms like this before, then so have we." The crowd erupted in applause, but suddenly, a loud crack of thunder made them jump. Part of the roof in the far corner creaked ominously, the sound rattling their nerves. "Let us focus," Clara urged, albeit with a hint of fear in her voice. "We can't lose sight of our goal, even while the weather tempts us to scatter." Mary took a deep breath, calling on the strength she saw all around her. "Listen. After the storm passes, let us not wait. The moment it clears, we head to the river. Gather everyone you know. Let us make it a real event. Our gathering can be bigger than any storm." As they moved together, the energy was palpable. Ideas flowed like the rain falling outside. Over the next hour, they laid out plans, maps of the river, identifying high-risk areas, organizing volunteers into teams. Murmurs of excitement and eagerness mixed with laughter, cutting through the tension like an unexpected ray of sunshine peeking through dark clouds. Finally, the storm shifted, the rain beginning to let up. The air was thick with charged anticipation, and Mary turned to Clara, her heart racing. "This is it. Are we ready?" As the clouds parted, revealing a slate-blue sky, she felt both fear and exhilaration dance within her. They had faced the storm head-on together. Now was the time to act. "Gather everyone," Clara shouted, her excitement contagious. "Let us head to the river and grab those who didn't make it here. They need to feel this too." Within moments, the building emptied as the buzz of the community moved toward the river. Excitement swelled and laughter erupted. People laughed as they slipped on wet grass, others gathered tools and buckets with fervor. Standing at the riverbank, freshly glistening in the post-storm sunlight, Mary surveyed the scene. This was at the moment to show what they could achieve when united. A beacon of hope began to crystallize, and Mary's heart swelled as her neighbors started sharing their stories about their struggles and experiences, moments of joy by the river, and how they felt the community slip away from them with the pollution of their lifeblood. As they shared, seeds of empowerment sprouted. Some families stepped forward, proposing ideas for how to build barriers to protect the river, while others brainstormed about future cleanup initiatives, planting trees, and restoring beauty to their surroundings. A spirit of tenacity arose, unbreakable in its resolve, stronger than the storm they had faced. Mary knew they had tapped into something powerful. Their stories merged, creating a tapestry of purpose woven through countless shared memories. It was time to reclaim that river not as a single person, but as a family bound together by their history and hope. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in warm hues of orange and pink, Mary felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Encouraged by stories shared and actions planned, she drew everyone together. "Today, we didn't just clean a river," she said, emotion thick in her voice. "We cleaned our hearts. We rekindled our spirit. Maplewood is not just about our battles, it's about our love for this land and each other. Together, we can conquer anything." The crowd erupted in cheers, uniting their voices in a symphony of hope that echoed through the night like a joyous anthem. They were ready to face anything that came their way, their community transformed into an unshakable force. The following weeks weren't just about the cleanup. They saw people rising to the occasion. Volunteers expanded their reach into neighboring towns, gathering support and resources, energy, and stories flowing freely. In that union, Mary felt stronger than she'd ever dreamed. They had woven a quilt of resilience, a heartfelt reminder that iron hands could only take them so far, while human connection could propel them further than they thought possible. And as Maplewood thrummed back to life, Mary understood the river had brought them together, but it was their shared love that would sustain them, strong enough to break through any future darkness. She glanced at Clara, heart swelling with gratitude. "We did it. Together." Clara beamed back. "No, we're just getting started." And with that promise in mind, both of them lifted their heads to the sky, ready for whatever came next, knowing that storms might come, but their spirits would rise in joyful defiance. Now, my friends, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, because transformations like this happen every day, and you don't want to be left behind. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it really makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation in their own lives. Your support means the world. You are the heart of this community,